Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Finding Your Voice. I'm so excited today because I've had the pleasure of working with this gentleman that's coming on that's going to share with you some really solid tips and nuggets that you can take away with you after this interview. His name is Earl Hall, and he is the founder and owner of the Earl Hall Studio, who is a content creator, video producer, a business coach who helps entrepreneurs bring their visions to life and through impactful promotional videos and strategic business development. I've had the pleasure of working with Earl Hall in all of those aspects. I just found out about his business coaching skills. So that's something I'm going to have to add to my list of things to keep in touch with him about. He's the founder, as I said, of the Earl Hall Studio. He specializes in creating high quality video content that drives engagement and boosts brand visibility for authors, business owners, and creatives across multiple platforms. Earl has a YouTube channel with over 15K followers and has almost 2 decades of experience in sales, marketing strategy, and brand development. He is passionate about equipping entrepreneurs with tools and insights they need to thrive in today's digital landscape that's so needed today. Whether he's coaching clients on using social media to build their business or producing videos that make products shine, Earl's mission is clear: to empower entrepreneurs to tell their story and grow their influence. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my friend and colleague and support, Earl Hall. Earl,
How you doing,
introduce
Dr. Velma?
yourself.
Thank you so much for having me here today with you.
I'm so glad you're here, Earl, because I know that you are, even based on what I read from your bio, you are full of great nuggets and insights. So let's get started with our first question so that you can give them a glimpse of who you really are. Look, everybody looks at you and you've got the Earl Hall Studio, LLC. You're established. You've got this business going. I'm sure they've seen some of your work across the social media platforms. Man, this guy has it going on. I read your bio and they probably think, how did he get this creative and this successful? It looks like it's a piece of cake. But Earl, tell them something about your journey and tell them something about those moments that presented struggles or obstacles for you in the begin. It could have been in the beginning. I've heard some folks, it didn't hit in the beginning, it hit somewhere in the middle. Sometimes as you were riding your skyscraper, it hits at inopportune time. So share what happened, your experience, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I mean, this all started for me, back around 2007, 2008. That was really when social media started. I mean,
Mhm.
Facebook, YouTube all came out around 2007, 2008. I actually had hair back then. I was not gray uh, at that time, but, I thank God for where I am right now. One of the things that I've seen over the time that I've been online is that you're so right. There are always struggles. And so many times when you listen to people's stories, at least the stories I've listened to, nothing just started right away. Many
Yeah,
people failed over and over before they actually found their stride
yeah,
with what it is that they do. And I think that's important because if you have a passion, if you have a dream, it's your dream. You can't give it up. And you can't let anyone take that away from you, regardless of the circumstances as far as what goes on. And I think that's really a big part of being an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur, I mean, you fail forward
yeah,
so many times. At least in my case, so many times. It took me almost a decade to really get things up and going. I mean, I was doing things back in 2007 with internet radio and radio stations on the internet, and then YouTube came and started creating videos. I've literally been creating videos since about 2007,
wow,
2008. And that just became a passion of mine to be able to create that. And then because I have this creative side for myself, I just got off into voiceover coaching. I got off into video production because I saw the value early in being able to just step in front of a camera and just talk to people
yeah,
about what it is that you do. And I mean, I've gone through, since 1999 was really the first business that I started. Most people don't know my background is in mechanical engineering and design, right? And I started an engineering firm that was super successful
Wow.
and failed, right? So that was the first thing. And that was right around, I mean, in 1999, I turned 30 years old. So you do the math. Um,
Look, I'm getting my pen now. I'm
right.
just
But
kidding.
I did, I mean, in October, I celebrated my 55th birthday, you
Awesome.
know. So, and there's been even up until most recently, like things that I had actually helped other people build that were successful and that I benefited from, those things failed. And so then I had to, now at 55, like, you know what? I've done this before, I can do it again.
Mhm.
And so many times, I think, especially the older that we get, we think that, okay, well, 55 is old. Well, actually, no, it's not. And it's like you can do, my mind is still like a 30-year-old in a lot of ways. It's like my body will tell me different things at different times, but my mind is still young and I still want to create and I still want to do things. And I have this passion of being able to help other entrepreneurs
Right.
overcome their fears, overcome the distractions, and really get out of their own way to actually develop something and do something that they're passionate about. And my job is to just help bring that to life through the different video content that I'm able to produce for them to help them reach that goal.
That's awesome, Earl. Just sounds like what I used to do for work. And then they tell you that I worked for state government as a deputy administrator, and
Mhm.
part of my job was leading the team that was helping those job seekers come in and figure out what's next, what
Yeah.
was the best path for them that would help them to be successful. We do the research based on the future of that job, and if it didn't have a future, we would steer them into a different direction. Well, when I retired in 2012, I put that hat down. I had 38 years and I thought, okay, this is enough.
Mm.
I'm done with all of this. I don't have to speak to anyone. I don't need to be online. I've done that, been there already. So I thought I was getting ready to bury all of that. But what I love about what God does with our passion, because He gives that to us, our abilities to us, and the gift that He's given us is so that we can share with other people. So
Mhm.
that's when my eyes open to the fact that now I have to write a book about dating and relationships and marriage. It started with my own daughters. And so that's how it began. And then it evolved into what I'm doing now. Then I had to get my certification as a dating, relationship, and marriage coach. My
Mhm.
husband was a pastor, so we were already doing pre-marriage counseling sessions, all of that. And I got frustrated with the fact that we're sitting before a couple asking us to fix a problem or resolve a problem. We're saying to ourselves, well, the problem is you're trying to marry the wrong person. And so, what do you do with all of that information? Just like what you just said, your passion then kicks in and you have to begin to share what you know. We've been blessed to be married 50 years. We both turned
Awesome.
70, and we're just excited to be able to take that experience and that knowledge and share with others. So I'm very grateful that you did not give up. And I hope that others listening to what you just said, that there were many failures. So it was with me. I was just timid in the beginning. I'm going,
Mm.
man, I got to get back out there and I have to do this. But once I settled into what I knew I had to do, I knew that I had to figure it out because, again, it wasn't that friendly in the literary world. I say it all the time, unless you dial 1-800 pay me first and I'll talk to you. So
Yeah.
I I appreciate what you're saying and what you've done. Even in the services you provided to me has been really beneficial, and I'm very
Oh, well, thank
grateful.
you. Thank you.
So quality, top notch. I mean, my very first video, the sound just went got my attention. So I love it. So let me go to our next question, Earl. What can you suggest to others who may be unsure of their path? I heard you say that you started one project, that ended, started another. What do you say to that person who's just unsure?
Well, I used to struggle, like I think a lot of people struggle with, what's my actual purpose? Like what am I here for? And I think that's almost too big of a question. It's like,
Yeah.
you know what it is that you know, right? So the life experience that you have, you know what it is that you know. And so many people are afraid to just start somewhere. And I think a lot of people have this like end in mind,
Mhm.
that with no direction on how to actually get to that end. And so because they have no path to follow, or
Right.
they're trying to be too grandiose, they do
Mhm.
nothing
Right.
because it seems too big. It just
Mhm.
seems too massive to actually be able to get to that point. But you start where it is that you are, and please understand this is not going to happen tomorrow.
Nope.
It's not. I've said for over a decade to people that, like wanted to get into voiceover and do some things like that. And I used to say, look, if you're starting today, but if you're not willing to put in the next 5 years, just quit today because it's not going to happen in the next 3 months, 6 months. Don't care what they say online. Don't care
Right.
what the thing is they try and tell you. You'll be a millionaire in the next 60 days. And it's just,
Mhm.
it does not ever come to fruition, with that. And it's a lot about being patient. And all the things I'm talking about, these are the
Mhm.
mistakes that I've made. Right.
Mhm.
So I'm not talking from a perspective of this is what you ought to do. I'm talking, this is what I used to do. And
Mhm.
this is how I've come around to actually understanding that all these different things, in particular with patience and time, you have to let it all work together
Yep.
because people need to first understand who it is that you are. And even with some of the stuff that, you've probably seen me put out on Facebook recently about my full-time job and about
Yep.
the different struggles and things like that, those are traditionally things that I think people try and hide.
Yep.
Like, I'm not hiding that I'm starting over. That's part of my story.
Right.
And that's what people need to understand and know. And then it encourages those people that were where I am or are where I am, or, any of the different things in between. But you can start from where it is that you are
Mhm.
and just let that build upon itself. But the first thing being, people have to understand who it is that you are, what it is that
Mhm.
you do, and who it is that you do it for,
Yeah.
and all the reasons why. They have to understand those things. And so that's the part of the journey that I'm on right now, is just that.
I agree with you, Earl, because I'm in the process of restructuring my business and brand for that
Mhm,
very reason. I started out thinking I was doing one thing and evolved into so much more than that. So
mhm,
now I have to change what I'm saying that my business is here to do. And so I have to restructure. So I'm looking at, okay, what's the name? How am I going to encompass everything I'm doing now in this
mhm.
new brand? So I'm actually taking a pause to do all of that as well. So you're right on point, and you can evolve, and sometimes right in the middle or somewhere down the line you may ch- decide to do another shift and do
Mhm.
something different at that point, or add a different piece or a different layer. So what do you say about that, that when you get to that place that it may be time for a different path?
It's all about being honest with yourself,
Hmm.
right? If you're making posts and no one's responding, no one wants to hear what you're saying. Stop doing that same thing.
Yep.
You've got to do something different at this point
Yep.
in order to see, well, maybe there's something that I'm not quite doing right. Maybe I'm not making the posts right. Maybe some setting is wrong, or whatever. I literally, and this happened to me on Friday. I did a live stream on Friday. Facebook posted it, but I didn't realize until a day later that it was set to private.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So I
Yeah.
immediately like, okay, switched it to public. Now it has over
Right.
100 views on it.
Right.
So I mean, there's all these little things that
Hmm.
can impact, influence, or hinder the things that it is that we're doing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's technical, but quite honestly, a lot of the times it's us being stuck in a way of doing things that do not or are not getting results. And we continue to do those same things over and over and wonder why nothing is changing.
Yes.
That's why I say that you have to be honest with yourself about what's going on with you, with yourself, with your business, your interactions, because social media is the world we live in now. And if
Yeah.
nobody's engaging with you, it means nobody cares.
Right.
That's just the harsh reality of it,
It really is.
right? And so we have to be able to take that, and we can't blame social media. It's us that's doing something wrong
Yes.
or not in an appropriate way that will actually get us to a desired result.
I had to I had to learn based on the training we were getting in our boot camp
Mm,
to learn to go back and look at the insight, look at the data around
exactly.
that's surrounding the things that I post. And also on the social media platforms, there's different age groups in each of them. And you have to understand which age group you're reaching. I found that my TikTok following was huge compared to everything else.
Hmm.
Instagram, somewhat, it's okay. But then when I started looking at the age bracket in each of those following groups for each platform, I determined that they were at different levels. So
Sure.
my youngest group was in the TikTok realm. And so yes, they want to know about dating and marriage. And so that's that group. Biggest following in the 60s and 70s, I didn't 50s, 60s and 70s on social media, Facebook. I, that's who's looking for a mate, that group.
Hmm.
And so therefore I had to learn to speak to that level of my population. So I love what you said. You have to know your audience. You have to
Hmm.
know which platform benefits what you have to say. And that's something I had to slowly do. And so I ended up eliminating the ones that didn't serve me well
Yeah.
because that's not my audience. So, what do you say to the person who, and this is a new question, by the way, based on what you said, what do you say to the person who is here to serve a group of people or serve an audience, but have no clue where to go and find them?
You just have to get on all the platforms and
Mhm.
see which one is going to perform for you. If you're starting day zero, day one,
Mhm.
and you have no audience, you have nothing going on, you have to try a lot of different things on a lot of different platforms. And I say a lot of different things because each platform has a lot of different things on it. I mean, you look at Instagram, you can do stories, you can do reels, you can do posts, video posts, you can do image posts, you can do live streams, you can do carousels. It's like, what is the thing that's going to attract? And that again is why it takes time
That's true.
to actually figure these things out.
Not only time, Earl, but it also requires that you spend some time understanding it better. I wasn't as clear about social
Mhm.
media in the beginning, especially at my age. I wasn't, and I think I started out with 53 people on Instagram. I didn't understand the benefit of really having followers and making sure
Yeah,
you're following and that you're responding to posts because it's a two-way street. You can't just
exactly.
expect them to respond to you and you're not. So it took some time for me to get comfortable with that and build those numbers up. So I understand what you're saying. And so you're saying take your time, but do put in the time.
Yeah.
And so lastly, my question is I have what's called a wise counsel is the term that I use because back in the day, we had what we call grandma, grandpa, we had mama, daddy, we had seasoned people, auntie, uncle, somebody,
Mhm.
seasoned people in our lives that can speak from their experience. And because that's not the makeup anymore much, I refer to it as a wise counsel, and that's just simply surrounding yourself with people who understand, who has experience, who can help you, can vet some things that maybe you're considering, even some of the services you're offering, can vet
Mhm.
some of the things that you're thinking about doing. So that's wise counsel to me. And so based on that, what wisdom would you like to leave the audience surrounding what we talked about? That person that may be on the fence, that person who needs to hear some wisdom from you, who may be that person that's failed us several times and assume that that was just not for them to do, which is a lie, really, because
Mhm.
that's what you're saying. Sometimes you start, you stop, you start, you stop, but you have to figure it out. So
Yes.
what wisdom would you, as wise counsel, would you leave the audience today?
Well, no matter what kind of business you have, I don't care whether it's online, offline, whatever it is, if you're not showcasing it on social media, you are not marketing or promoting your business.
Hmm.
I don't care if you have a food truck, uh, whatever it is that you're doing, if you're not firmly planted on social media, building that audience, showcasing what it is that you do, once again, who it is you do for, why it is that you do, how it is that you do it. If you're not showcasing these things, no one will know you're there.
Yeah.
We're past the days, even though I still see people doing it, handing out flyers in the shopping mall. It's like no one wants your flyer on their car. They don't. And so much time is spent in marketing on trying to force people to pay attention as opposed to allowing people to find and discover you based on the interests that they have that you actually can fulfill,
Yeah.
right? And so the advice I have is, I don't care what your phobia is, whether it's the sound of your voice, or your hair isn't done right, or the shirt doesn't match. Get on social media, because most of the things that you think people are paying attention to, they're not paying attention to it. No one is going to remark on my hat or my shirt. They're just not. They're focusing in, and with you, they're focusing in on the interview. They're focusing in on the words that are being said. It is the content that matters, and the content is
Yep.
the words. Everything else is just an added bonus, visual effects, da 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 da. But you can have the best visual effects, the best camera effects, but if your message is muddy or unclear, or no one will care that Steven Spielberg produced your video.
Right.
No one will care. It is about the words that are said. That is the content.
That's awesome. Well, I want you to know, when you see my video that Mr. Earl Hall created for me for Finding Your Voice, you will drop the mic and you will care to come and tune in this show that will debut in 2025. So I appreciate having Earl on the show today, and I'm so grateful for you sharing your wisdom. So, how can folks who are really interested in what you had to say today, how can they connect with you, and how would you prefer for them to get in touch?
Well, I mean, the simplest way, I mean, we just talked about social media. You can find me on all the social media platforms, just at Earl Hall Studio. Go there, whether we're talking about YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram. I mean, just at Earl Hall Studio. Shoot me a DM.
Awesome. And Earl actually has a wonderful gift right now. I don't know how long this is going to last, but he has a special for video. So you better get to him while you can, because I know he's going to be very busy. I want to thank you, Earl. I enjoyed this time with you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
all the insight and wisdom you shared with the audience. I picked up a few things myself, and I appreciate it. And I will absolutely return to Earl Hall Studios for more work in the future. Thank you so much, Earl. You take
You're
care.
more than welcome. Thank you. The honor has definitely been mine.